Welcome, Beck, to Straight to the Source. I'm so excited to have you here. So, this is the first interview that I've done, and I told you I really wanted it to be with you first. So, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. What a full circle moment for us.
It's so awesome. And both of us have been so looking forward to this conversation. So, yeah, you guys are in for a treat. I guarantee that. So, I wanted to just quickly share a little bit about Beck. So, Beck grew up in the middle of two worlds colliding with both religion and spirituality. And from a young age, she was able to connect with messages from the other side, her inner knowing, and that she knew that there was more to life than what we see. A series of traumatic events changed the trajectory of her life and almost cost her everything. And then, with things turning around through sheer tenacity and divine protection, Beck alchemized her pain into power and started the powerhouse called Be Prolific, which is a safe space for anyone experiencing declining mental health, passive or active ideations. Beck has a deep passion for men's mental health and suicide prevention after experiences of personal trauma, and then later losing two friends 6 weeks apart to suicide. This is an underdog story of how belief, resilience, and a bomb squad of angels behind you can get you across the finish line even when you're exhausted and you lose hope. Welcome, Beck, officially. So good to have you here. Um, I think we're just going to kick straight into it because that's what you and I know how to do best. So, can you start back from where did Beck begin? What was it like growing up in your world when you were a child?
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, my love. I'm very excited and very honored to be your very first guest on this amazing podcast. And thank you for allowing me the opportunity to finally get my story out there. Um, Growing up, so I'm going to take it back. I'm going to begin at the beginning. So, my dad is from Lebanon, Christian, grew up in the Civil War, one of 20 kids, came to Australia by boat, learned English, and built an empire from the ground up. My mum is from Hungary in Europe, Christian, but comes from gypsy bloodline. Her dad was born in Transylvania, and she had the most amazing set of spiritual gifts. So I grew up in the middle of two worlds colliding, which was religion and spirituality. So as I said, my dad built an empire from the ground up, which meant we had all the stuff, the house, the cars, the private schools, the holidays. So if you're looking from the outside in, it looked like such a happy and privileged upbringing. From the inside looking out, it was a very dark household. I was a witness to my mum being a victim of very bad domestic violence. I myself experienced physical and sexual abuse at a very young age and thereafter. So that's where I started to form the perception that men are not safe. Um, it was really like a house of horrors, to not sound dramatic, but there was a lot of darkness in what seemed like a happy household. But at the same time, I had my mum, who's been gone now 21 years, give me so much love and light and hope and joy and the absolute best childhood despite the circumstances. And love is such a high frequency that it almost cancelled out all the darkness that was around me. So even though I was having these awful experiences, um, I was filled with so much love and joy. And she had the biggest heart and passed that down to me. You know, I remember being a little kid and I would watch the World Vision ads and you'd see these beautiful little kids in Africa. And I just wanted to go over there with the church and go help them. And I remember asking my dad when I was young, can they come and stay with me? You know, I've got so many things. I can share my toys, you know, we can set up another bed for them. Because I just learned at a very young age that stuff doesn't equal happiness. And I always just had this innate thing in me where I wanted to give back to other people and share what I had, because we were blessed in a lot of ways despite the dark circumstances. And yeah, that's pretty much where it all started.
And it's so interesting because, like, religion and spirituality, there's so many beautiful similarities, but then at the same time, I think there's some real vast differences. Like, how did that impact you, do you think, having almost the polarities of those two experiences?
It was tough because I always felt like I had to pick one or the other. Like
Mm.
if I was religious, I felt like I was not betraying, but I wasn't honoring this other side that I had because I had the gifts from my mum. I was able to connect with people. I could, um, like clairaudient, I would have downloads. I could hear things. People would come through with messages. So I felt like almost I wasn't honoring that by trying to shut it out. But at the same time, if I went towards that, um, I'd get in trouble from my dad and, the names and things like that. And I always felt like I had to pick one or the other, that the two couldn't exist. And it really wasn't until just a couple of years ago where I understood that the two can work cohesively really well together, because I might call it God, you might call it source or universe. I might say angels, you might say spirit. We're sort of talking about the same thing, but for some reason we have to put them in separate boxes.
Mm, yeah, it's so interesting. So when you were talking as well about, like, I loved how you shared that your mum, brought so much love and was actually able to sort of hold that frequency and share that love frequency with you, and it really made such a difference. Like, can you talk more to that and also integrate it into your experience with the darkness?
I think that when you show darkness, love, and kindness, healing can begin.
Mm, good.
So I do, as I said, think that love is the highest frequency. And it was very easy to go one way or the other. Having those types of experiences, feeling certain ways about people, it's very easy to stay with that narrative and go down that way. But my mum taught me to always show love, compassion, empathy, and to forgive people, um, you know, that may not have been given the best circumstances in life, the best tools. So I've always tried to carry that with me. And that's why I've made one of my brand values is healing the world one broken heart at a time, because sometimes that's all people need. Even demons need light. People need love. People need hope. They just want to feel seen and heard despite what is going on around them. So I try and embody that the best that I can and always remember the values that my mum taught me at a young age.
Mm. Yeah, and would you be, I mean, because I know that there's a lot of similarities in our story, and I feel that one of the biggest things that we both resonated on is being able to, share with the world where we've been, where we've come from,
Mm,
and to show obviously now like who you are and where you are now. If people look at you and go, "Wow, look at Beck, look what she's doing," and she's always so happy and energetic and vibrant, but then it wasn't always like that. So can you like share with people where you feel comfortable, um like the beginning part of that, because you weren't always Beck that you are able to express today.
no. Well, firstly, what I would say is the biggest difference is at a young age, my voice was shut down. I was always what I felt to be in trouble if I spoke up. So I was never given tools to talk, to communicate. And when you're living in a volatile household, the only way that I saw that you could be heard was either raising your voice or raising your hands.
Mm.
So the difference now is I learned the power of communication, the connection that can come through conversation. Um, but as you said, I wasn't always this person. Let's take it back now to sort of maybe more of like a young adult. I grew up in Camden, which is at late 90s, early 2000s, was predominantly like a white Australian country town. There weren't many people that looked like me at that time. So I had a really rough time in high school. Um, I didn't have any friends. I was in a lot of fights. And it came to a point later on where I was able to make friends. So, have you ever seen the movie Walk Boy?
Oh, I feel like I remember it coming out. What
Yeah,
was it, or was it when I was at, would it have been when we were at high school?
yeah, long,
Yeah,
long time ago,
I
right?
don't
So
remember it though, but yeah.
he's like this European kid, and they play on the stereotypes of like the wog boy behaviors and stuff. And he goes to school and he's got the spread, he's got the salami and the olives and the feta cheese and the pita bread, and like he's got this full spread. and the other kids are just eating Vegemite sandwiches. Like that was me in high school, like because I had the European mum, so I had these beautiful, lunches, and I would get money for the canteen. Normally you just get a couple dollars. Back in the day, a couple dollars would go a long way, but I would get notes, $10, $20, and I knew why I got that money. It was always like oops, sorry that happened last night, sorry you saw that. It was always, we're not going to have a conversation, but here's some money, make it better. I knew where it came from. I didn't want it, so I'd give it to the other kids. So I very quickly went from having no friends to being everyone's friend. But that's where I feel like I learned people pleasing tendencies too. Because if I do something, then you like me. It's very transactional, but I wanted connection, I wanted conversation, and that's where that sort of began as well. Also through high school, my mum had cancer on and off, so we'd go through that merry-go-round of a diagnosis, chemo, remission, life's great, and then it would start again. So that was on and off through those teen years. Come towards the end of high school, I'm in year 11. What are we going to do with our life? I go, I'm going to do psychology. I want to be able to help people. I know, I've been in talk therapy for many years at that point. I didn't really know these other modalities existed. So I was like, right, I want to do therapy. I'm going to help people. And halfway, second term of year 11, my mum got diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I left school to be her full-time carer, and then she passed away shortly thereafter. So in those, development years, we're talking about different types of abuse, about grief, about loss, about isolation. I experienced a lot of those things at a very young age. And it took a lot before I became this version. But going back to your question at the beginning, these dense emotions was something I experienced at a young age. So I felt like I had to grow up a lot quicker maybe than other people at that age. And then I started my venture into the world after all that had happened.
It's
busy childhood.
And that's just like the tiniest snapshot, right?
Yeah, that's a quick version.
I know, and I was still getting full body goosebumps, with things that you've said. And I guess, yeah, it's so interesting, even when you talk about like the people pleasing tendencies that and recognizing like how they develop as well, because I think so many of us actually really struggle with that. But then it makes so much sense, especially at such a young age, like having that awareness to recognize where that money was coming from. Like you said, like, oh, sorry for that, but it wasn't communicated. It was just an energetic sort of exchange as an offering. And the interesting part of you almost not wanting to accept that, but then the gift, like your heart to give to other kids, and then at the same time, just the full circle of then that bringing in that connection and that the friendships, and as you say, whether it doesn't matter how it happened, but at that point, I guess that's how you learn to survive.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was. And even thereafter, I've always had that imbalance, I guess, of genuinely wanting to help people and give to people, but then also to some degree knowing it always felt transactional because maybe I cared more or I had, different intentions in what they did. And that's in turn led me down another path, in life as you get older when it comes to adult friendships, adult relationships, things like even workplace relationships, So that was something I had to really learn and is still quite new, is setting those boundaries of I can help you, but I can only take you so far.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. So, okay. So you left school and you became full-time carer for your mum.
Yeah.
And then how old were you, sorry, when she passed? 17. Wow. Okay. That's young.
Yeah. So she passed away quite quickly. It was very aggressive. She passed away quite quickly. And thereafter, I felt really lost with what I wanted to do with life because I always had the goal of psychology, and that was just not an option. I was too sad to go to TAFE to do my HSC. And I always thought, what's something I can do until I can figure out, 17 is hard enough anyway. Now I'm having to try and navigate life without my only safe person. I'm not at school. I don't know what I'm doing. And I wanted to do something to honor my mum. So when I was little, I would get up and I'd watch. My mum would get up hours before she had to, and she'd get up and do the skincare and the makeup and the hair and the nails and the earrings and look like she's going to Melbourne Cup every day. She's only going to drop us at school, but she would just get up and spend all this time. And I used to sit there and just watch her like she's just like a movie star. So I thought, in a way of honoring my mum, I did my diploma of beauty therapy. Then I got into makeup, to spray tanning, all the trades that you were doing back in the early 2000s, which later led me to work in a modeling agency in the city. So if someone was doing a video shoot or modeling or they wanted headshots, I'd do the makeup or special effects for it. And then I moved on to be a national makeup artist and skincare specialist for Dior. So I travel around the state. I teach people, how to do makeup, like lessons, workshops, masterclasses. I got to work with the people that actually do the makeup for the brand ambassadors, like Monica Bellucci and Charlize Theron. I got to work with their makeup artists. And then I moved on to being a manager for Chanel, still in the beauty industry. And I loved it. Like, makeup was never what I wanted to do, but I loved it. I loved that it made people feel good. They'd come in one way and leave just like on cloud nine. And I love doing that for people, part of their stories and special days, weddings and things like that. And then it just got to a point where I'd been doing it for almost 10 years. My heart wasn't really in it. And I said, all right, I've always wanted to be a dog handler with Australian Federal Police at the airport. So that was kind of my backup plan, but makeup just took over. So I said, all right, I'm in my mid-20s, later 20s now. What am I going to do? I'm either going to buy a shop and I'm going to stay with makeup and I'm going to make my own makeup line and that's going to be my life, or I'm going to get an immigration job and I'm going to try to take a stepping stone to going to the airport. And immigration called me back within a week. And I was like, do you know what, the beauty therapist? Like, did you call the right person? And that's how I started in immigration. And that's how I started in the fight of my life. But that's also how Be Prolific came about. So there is a silver lining.
Like the fourth goosebumps I've had through this call. Um, yeah. Wow. And such a beautiful way to honor your mom as well, I think to almost like keep that part of her alive within yourself. Like I can really see that when you're explaining it, like how that would do that for you.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, isn't it interesting, even just the way you talk about sort of like seeing her and like the way that we look at our parents. We do. We think that they're the best thing ever, even through the shitty times, but then we still just have this innate like awe for them. And I really saw that when you were talking, like I could just imagine little Beck like looking up at her mom, you know what I mean? It's just so, yeah, it's profound. I love that.
Yeah, they were beautiful memories. She was a wonderful lady.
Yeah, and such a gift, and I know, and we will get into it later, but I feel like, I know the amazing gifts that you've reconnected with and that obviously she has, shared with you. So it's so beautiful. So okay, so now you're at this point of now stepping into the next phase of your career. Let's just call it a career or your purpose work. Something that I think the biggest thing I hear when you share as well is that it's always been driven by like purpose work. You've always had this innate drive to want to help people from being, little and handing your money to the other kids and then also growing up and feeling the need to go into psychology and wanting to help people. I really, really resonate with that. I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. So you're now at the point of stepping more into, well, you've got the call from the immigration, but then this is also your, I'd say, what major turning point in many different ways.
Yeah,
And
many.
how old were you? Sorry.
I was more towards my later 20s, so I think around 26, 27.
So you're sort of approaching Saturn return.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then?
Strap in. So immigration is a wild place. So I know that people have a perception of what they think goes on. When I say immigration, let me clarify. I was an officer at Villawood Detention Centre. So the way that it works is people have their visas cancelled due to criminal charges. They do their jail time. Once they're done, we pick them up, house them at Villawood. If they don't have any pending court, anything, we get a member from the aviation team, which I was also a part of, and we take them to their country of origin. So it's kind of that cycle of jail, immigration, deportation, like that. I did the deportation, so I was overseas every 3 weeks, but I was also housed at Villawood, and my compound that I looked after was high-risk males. So for the most part, you know, it's not a job that you should be in long term. The things that you see in that place, I won't obviously get into detail because I don't want to get sued. But there's a lot of things that go on in that place that's just really bad for your psyche. But you become desensitized to it, and you know, it becomes normal. Where this story takes a turn, where my immigration career took a turn, as did my mental health, was a series of events back to back within maybe about 6 months. So I was in Vietnam for work, and I'll just say, before I say this next part, I just want to say I do have permission to talk and say certain names. I have filmed something prior and I've got permission to say the name. So I'm saying it as a way of honouring who I'm about to speak about, rather than, you know, call them out, or it comes with full love and respect.
And you also don't have to.
Yes.
Say
Yes.
name. You know that.
So I was in Vietnam for work, and I received a text message to say that one of my friends, my offsiders, had taken their life, which was unfortunately quite common in that type of place. And then 6 weeks later, I had another friend, very, very dear friend, co-worker, my work hubby, took his life also. So 6 weeks apart, I've gone to 2 funerals for 2 very close people. We're now talking about March 2020. So the first suicide was November 2019. The second was January 2020. March 2020, I decided I needed a break. I'm going to go get away from Sydney, get a little bit of a perspective. So I went to New York City. I'd been there several times for work, had homies there, thought I was going to go for 10 days, do the stuff. A couple of days in on the trip, my drink got spiked. Someone put me in their boot. I won't continue what happened after that. I've gone to the airport days later to leave New York, and I had a 1 hour stop off in Los Angeles that, while I'm lining up to get my boarding pass, turned into 47 hours. Now, we're in the peak of COVID. We're talking about New York City got locked down in the state of emergency. I have videos and photos of me in Madison Square Garden, and I'm the only person there. Like, I don't think that's ever happened in history. I'm in the middle of New York and there's no one on the streets.
Wow.
So I'm at the airport. I've got this 47-hour delay at Los Angeles, and they said, look, the Qantas flight is coming in to get you guys, but everywhere's closing their borders because of COVID. So you can go to Los Angeles, but I can't guarantee that you'll get back to Sydney. You can either bunker up in New York or take your chances. So I made the phone calls, guys, I'm probably going to stay here. I really don't know what's happening. Luckily, I got on the last plane, got back to Sydney, did my 2 weeks quarantine, and then shortly thereafter, I'm talking like a matter of weeks, before I continue to the next part. So remember, I said we've got people from the jails coming in and they're going out. So it's a cycle, in, out, in, out. Now, because of COVID and borders are closed, we've got guys coming in, no one's getting deported. So we're over capacity. We've got people sleeping in common areas outside in the prayer room. It's chaos.
Wow.
So I've come back to work and a fight's broken out, quite a bad fight. I was collateral damage in that. I got really badly hurt. I got nerve damage in my arm, covered in bruises. My offsider had left. Luckily, I was able to get my radio and call for backup. I was back at work the next day, you know, still in that desensitized mindset. But shortly thereafter is where the psychological turns happen. So you got to think, in a span of 6 months,
Wow.
I've had 2 suicides, locked down in the state of emergency in New York, got assaulted over there, and then come back and being physically assaulted. These experiences are just reinforcing that childhood thing of men are not safe,
Yeah.
you know. So
Mm.
shortly thereafter, I was finding it really hard to cope. I went online trying to find some type of support, female officers, first responders, group chats, anything like that. I couldn't find the support that I needed. So that's when I decided to create the support that I was looking for. And that's how Be Prolific came about. Because I knew I just couldn't be the only person that's sitting here stumped and needed help and couldn't find it. So the word prolific means to do things in greatness and in abundance. And when you have declining mental health, you're not doing anything in greatness and abundance. So it was just a reminder to just get up and keep going, be prolific, be abundant, just keep going. And that's how I created the brand. I had no real vision of what it was going to be. I just knew I needed a platform, a safe space for people to come and talk to. And then it later became, merch, but as a way of supporting the mental health and suicide movement, not for anything more. And that's sort of where things started to take a turn. I don't know if you want to have a little pause there, because that was a lot of information.
Yeah. Yeah, let's have a pause, like in honoring your journey.
It was a busy 6 months, Elise. There was a lot.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything to ever prepare you for these magnitudes of trauma and grief and everything. And then going back to, like I said, childhood, where I wasn't given tools on communication. If anything, my voice was shut down. So I was never the type to talk about things. You know, again, the difference of who I was, who I am. I'll talk about everything now, as you can see. But back in the day, I never did. You know, it was shameful. That's the way I felt about it. So I never spoke about emotion. I never said I wasn't coping. I was almost very cutthroat with it. Like, can you change it? No, then get over it. You know, I was never, to myself, I'm talking about, I was never that compassionate type, you know, to myself. It was just keep going, keep going, keep going, until after the assault at work and I had some time off eventually, that everything just came out. And oh boy, did it come out.
Yeah, well, it really speaks to, like, we can't contain it all, right? Like, all of our experience through childhood and then our early adult life, and as things go on, like in reflection of my own story and then listening to your story, it's almost like I see the universe, or whatever you want to call it, like getting us to a point where we have to face this stuff.
Mm,
We can't just keep putting on a smiley face and doing it anymore, because it's actually killing us inside. And I guess, like, this is part of your work now, because you're supporting people so that they can have a safe space to share this stuff, because you've been to the place and you know what it feels like where you can't express. But then also having that experience of getting so far into your experiences of life where you couldn't contain it anymore. You had to express it, again, for survival.
yeah, yeah. It had to happen. Like, in hindsight, I feel like it had to happen that way
Yeah.
because, as you said, I had to face many things, not even just that 6 month period, but everything before that, you know, and it all came up. So we're talking now 2021. Um, my work friends stopped talking to me. I couldn't relate to my friends that just had a normal 9 to 5, you know, behind a computer. You can't explain what that type of environment is and the things that you deal with. So again, I was having those feelings of isolation. Um, I had severed ties with my family. They wanted nothing to do with me. So I moved away to somewhere different where I was living at the time. And I was off work for the first time in my life. I had all the time to think and feel and all this stuff that I've been pushing down my entire life. And it started to come up. And, you know, when you work in that type of environment and you deal with a lot of loss and trauma from other people, it's hard to sleep. You know, a lot of things come up at nighttime. You see faces, you replay scenarios. And someone had said to me one day, why don't you just have a drink? Just have a drink, chill out. And I never drank alcohol. I was like, nah, it's not really my thing, maybe. So I tried it and I was like, okay, I have a drink. I feel great. Then in time, I have 2 drinks. I feel, oh, wow, okay. Then I start drinking and go, well, I might go on a bender. That makes me feel great because I'm black. I've had 3 days where I haven't thought or felt anything. This is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The problem was that then, you know, it's enough until it's not. And then I needed something more than that. And then a lot of emotions were still coming up and heightened because of the vices. And I didn't know how to cope. I was so in my head. And then I became a self-harmer occasionally. And then it became daily and then chronically and really bad and stitches and things like that. And then you get into this shame spiral where it's all a bit too much. I can't cope. I don't know how to cope. I'm feeling isolated. I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to, you know, go on a bender. I'm going to self-harm, poor decisions that follow thereafter. And then you wake up and you just hate yourself for, what are you doing? Like, this sucks. Why do you keep doing this every day? Like, you're just this loser, you know? And then the negative self-talk and like, well, if I'm a loser, if I drink, then I don't feel that anymore. And it just keeps going. It just got to a point where I woke up one day and I just, what's the point? You know, I've been off work now for almost a year. I've got no job. We've gone through COVID, lockdown, out of lockdown. I'm still in the same situation. I don't know how to break free. I'm not worth anything. Maybe this isn't the life for me. You know, I don't think it's worth it. And so that's when I had actively attempted to end everything. And I guess because I was just in this blackout rage, I'd been quite loud. I was in apartment units at the time, and my neighbours had called the police, and they came in and handcuffed me, put me in an ambulance. Lucky they did, because my wasn't great. And they took me to the psych ward. And there's something very, you know, when you're living with like anxiety and depression and those dense emotions and darkness, you're just looking for the peace and the clarity and the calmness, because it's all chaos around you. And when I'm laying in the bed in the psych unit, you've got someone lurking over you, just staring at you, and you're just in a gown. And I'm like, well, this is it. There's no way they're going to let me out. I've got no way of talking my way out of this. Maybe this is what's supposed to happen. And, you know, sitting there in that bed, that's when I found the peace and the clarity that I was always looking for. It wasn't that I wanted to end my life. I just wanted to end the pain that I didn't know how to deal with. And I thought, if I end my life, the pain goes with it. And I laid in that bed for hours, because you had to wait until the psychologist came the following morning. And I believe I was in there somewhere 2 a.m., something around that. So I had to wait hours until someone could come and assess me. And I laid in that bed and I said, God, I know I don't deserve this, but if you get me out of here, I will spend the rest of my life making sure no one ever feels like this. And by God's grace, the psychologist came in around 10 a.m. the next morning. She looked at me, she goes, you don't want to kill yourself, do you? I said, not now, no. Now I've tried it, it's not for me. She said, are you just having a hard time? Said, yes, I'm having a hard time. I just need someone to talk to me, to therapy. And she let me go.
Wow.
But what was the cherry on the cake of a very humbling evening is when you are in that hold in a psych ward, someone's got to come and sign for you. You know, like, if I'm going to let you go, someone has to take responsibility that if anything happens after you leave the hospital, it's on that person.
Wow.
I didn't know that the friend they called a friend, called my dad, called my brother, all these people who I haven't seen in like a year. And I've come out of the hospital in my pajamas, looking like my hair, like I just come from National Geographic, covered in self-harm marks. It's at that point now, maybe 11 a.m. outside the hospital. You've got people at the bus stop going to work, you know, nurses and things on their lunch break. And I've just come out like a troll from under a bridge. And you've just got the panel, you know, the cavalry's there, just exactly your face there, just in the middle of the street. And that's where I knew I had to turn my life around. The benders had to stop. The self-harming had to stop. The rubbish behavior, like I needed help.
Yeah.
And that's where I started to turn my life around.
Wow.
A lot.
I said to you like just before we got on recording, I said to Beck, I was genuinely looking forward to this conversation and even in realizing how much of your story I didn't know. I knew parts,
Mm.
and I think this is the purpose of this podcast is to really, you talked about being suppressed for so long. And this is one way. I mean, you've already been doing so much of expressing and supporting other people and even just by literally showing up as you are and sharing your vulnerable story. Um, so thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for holding space for me to be able to share it. As I said, this was the first time anyone's given me that opportunity. And it's not always easy sharing your most vulnerable moments. I try my best to be authentic and open on my Instagram, but that's in hopes of helping other people that might
Yeah.
be experiencing it, or maybe they know someone going through it, because
Mhm.
there's no blueprint, right? When it comes to mental health, there's no right or wrong.
Mm-mm.
It's you just navigate the best that you can, but it's always nice to know that you're not alone and other people might know how you feel. So I'm hoping by sharing these moments, maybe someone else that's gone through it can go, you can go from that
Yeah.
to this. It's possible. And it takes work. Don't get me wrong. This is not an overnight journey. You and I have been friends for many years. You've sort of seen me just when I met you, it was just after that period. So you kind of came in and
Wow.
been the progress of, you know, A to B and what more versions to come in the future.
Wow. And even like, because at that point, you weren't really allowed to share very much. So again, like I didn't really know too much of what was going on. Energetically, I think, we're able to, because we're sensitive, we're able to pick up on emotions and things. But other than that, yeah, it's like, I guess it's a real reminder, as we know, we actually never know what's going on in somebody's world. We have no idea. And even when I first met you, you still presented to me as this like so happy and bubbly and energetic and would just light up the space wherever you were. And that was just like what drew me to you straight away. It was like, whoa, who is this woman? And at the same time, like it's like you were going through hell, your version of hell, and but you still, you still had this incredible vibrancy and light that shone. And I would have had no idea to the extent of what you've just told me. That's why my jaw was literally dropped because we don't know. We don't know what people are going through.
Right. And that's such a big thing. And there's, you know, obviously much more that happened thereafter. But,
Yeah.
you know, I do think it gets to a point where sometimes the story just doesn't matter anymore. Things have happened, you know, certain things, talking about them, it doesn't change. It doesn't bring
Mhm.
any positivity. It's just, you know, um, putting yourself back in the fight or flight thing. You know, you're re-traumatizing yourself by going back and telling all these narratives. And
Mhm.
around that time I met you, there were still plenty of things behind the scenes. Obviously, the legal stuff and everything else. But to the best of my capability, I always try and show up like that because I genuinely want to. I genuinely love people. And I think there's so much connection to be made through conversation, you know, and it's cathartic for me too, because I could be having a bad day and I've gone to heaps of your workshops and, you know, some of them where there's been chaos before and I don't know if I'm going to make it and I'm all flustered and then I see you guys and then it just flips the whole energy and the whole mindset. It's just all you need sometimes is just a little bit of light when you're going through the darkness. So I hope to be that for people because I've got so many people around me, yourself included, who are the light for me on so many of my dark days. Had I not met you and Tim and gone down the Source 88 route, I don't know where I'd be right now. And that's the truth. That's not dramatic. I really don't know, because I was at a crossroads of where I'm going to go with this, because I was going to the retreats and the circles and the crystals and the sage, and nothing was working. Everyone around me was elevating, and I could see it physically. They looked better every retreat, every circle. I wasn't changing.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's not working for me. Again, that mindset, maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe I'm supposed to life now. But what I think facilitators in that scenario need to take into consideration, or even people attending those circles, probably more importantly, is why are you here? What's your why? Because as you guys have heard, this is the stuff I'm trying to heal from. A retreat's probably not going to do it, but maybe Cheryl next to me that's just had her first baby and wants to get her yoga body back, maybe this is what she needs. What different levels that you're trying to heal on one, carbon copy workshop or retreat, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. So that's where I was really, really blessed that Amanda introduced us, because as I've said so many times throughout the story, I had my voice shut down. I didn't know how to talk, how to communicate. And that's where you and Tim introduced me to the world of somatics, of sound therapy, which is now my favorite thing in the whole world. And I'm so passionate about it.
So good.
Who knows where it would have been, because I'd already done trauma coaching when I'd met you, but I knew nothing about somatics and these alternative modalities that you guys introduced me to. So it's something that healed me, and I can now take and help other people with. So yeah, had I not crossed paths with you, babe, I don't know.
It's wild. Like, I mean, how many times I feel I've really shared with you. For me, you're an inspiration, because I see you sharing and I see your journey, and I like you said, like I see that you always show up and you always have this open heart, and no matter what you're going through, you're still showing up and sharing that vulnerably, but your heart's in it to also be the light for others. So it totally goes both ways, like really. And there was something you said around the talk therapies, and like just going over and over in the story over and again, and the similarity of for me going into psychology early, and then also having the opposite experience of also going into a mental health hospital. I got both sides. And one thing they taught us there was shame dies when stories are told in safe places. And I feel like that's a really big tie around to everything that you've talked about today so far, because that's been my journey as well. When we can share safely and we're not like lumped with a whole bunch more shame, but we're releasing it, we don't have that self-shaming cycle playing out where we do then go and do damaging behaviors to ourselves or others. It actually can create that change for people. And so when I'd love for you to share, like in relation to that, there's a point at which the story is important. We need to feel heard. And that's what you were saying. And then there's a point where it goes, okay, this work goes deeper now. Instead of saying the same story, what were some of the things that really helped you to, like, it's almost like stepping into that empowered place of, instead of, I find sometimes stories keep us in that victim cycle, and it's not about making the victim consciousness a bad thing. I think we need to be in it, to be honest, for a certain amount of time. But instead of getting stuck in it, how did you sort of get out of that? What were some other therapies or modalities that you used other than talk therapy?
I think it really genuinely started, well, I was very much aware of it when I met you and Tim. Like, that's genuinely the answer. Because as I said, I've been in talk therapy on and off my entire life. And as you said, we're in therapy years later talking about the same thing, re-traumatizing. The trauma cycle can't complete. It doesn't know it's over, because you're saying the same narrative with such conviction, week after week, and it's happened. And the thing, it started when I met you and Tim, and that's when I was aware of it. But in other ways, it's like, oh, I love music, I love movement, I love all these things, not realizing that they are a way of releasing, that they do have names and they are modalities. I just thought, I'm in the kitchen cleaning, dancing around. It's a great way of getting rid of it. And those things make me feel good. And then when I crossed paths with you guys and, we did the sound bowl therapy, I knew that it had a name and it's a thing. People do this. It's not just what you do in, your car or your kitchen. It's actually a very well-known modality, that has things. We're talking about the crystal bowls and, the frequencies and down to, a cellular level and all these things. That's when I realized what somatics was, and that there was a power in people that didn't know how to use their voice. They could let it go in other ways. So, as I said, today's the first time I've said a lot of things. Before I felt ready to ever talk or maybe even acknowledge that things had happened, let's face it, trauma gets stored in the body, as dis-ease. So these things that I don't want to talk about, that I try and shut out for survival, they're still manifesting into different things. I believe that's why I had a lot of health problems and had cancer back in 2022, ultimately ending in a hysterectomy. But I believe because of the childhood things, I had a lot of womb wounds, that part of your body. So I think after that is when I really started to understand that it gets stored. And I even going back to my mum in the life that she had here and the different types of abuse and things like that. Of course, the cancer was going to keep coming back. Of course, she was never going to fully recover, and in hindsight, looking back, all of that makes sense, but it's been trial and error. But after working with you guys, that's where I started to understand those parts that I'm not ready to talk about, I don't want to talk about, but need releasing, the darkness that needs the light. It can come out through sound therapy. Like the first time I met you and Tim and we did level 1, I had a strapped knee, like from thigh to ankle.
I remember. Forgot, but I remember.
So not even just talking about emotional wounds here, like actual physical stuff. Like my leg was strapped up. I tried physio. I had a bandage. I've done all this stuff and nothing worked. And I had that one day with you guys playing the crystal sound bowls. I had my legs crossed the best I could and playing the crystal bowl in front of me. And then I remember messaging you the next day going, oh my God, I can walk.
What happened? Wow.
So it's not only at an emotional level, like physically, these different modalities are doing something for you. I love the sound therapy. For me as well, is the movement therapy, when I can feel something inside. If I just stay still, I can start to notice something rocking or twitching or moving, and put my concentration on that. And I love you and I give you permission to leave. Thank you for what you've done. You can go. I love you, and send it off with love and light. So to get back to your question you asked me 30 minutes ago.
I love this. It's so good. I could talk for you for hours.
Yeah, but it really started with you guys. That's where I really started to understand the world of somatics and these different modalities, alternative to talk therapy, that can help you. And I've tried to share that with everyone.
Yeah.
Anyone who gives me 2 seconds, I have to talk, because it just works. And that's, if you're not ready to talk about it, there's other ways you can release it.
100%. Yeah. I love that. And what was I going to say?
Sorry, that was a lot of information.
No. It brought something up. It'll come back if it's meant to. Oh yeah, like I loved how you actually shared that there was actually like the somatic stuff, you were already intuitively doing it, right? I love that because it shows us again, the biggest thing I think our society, our humanity is struggling with at the moment or in the past is that we've totally forgotten the connection we have to ourselves and to source, to God, to the universe, whatever you want to call it. And when we actually come back to that truth, to our center, to our heart, we actually get to remember the truth of who we are. And through that, we can heal ourselves. Through that, you were healing yourself without putting a name to this as a modality of through movement, or this is a modality through voice activation or through sound healing. Like you were doing that stuff intuitively because you know, just like a baby that cries knows how to express whether it's a need or whether it's trying to feel something, it has these survival mechanisms built within it to release trauma. And so I just find that so interesting as well that you had that. And of course you did. But just to like reference that and to feed that back to you that you actually knew exactly what to do before you'd learned particular modalities and techniques anyway.
Well, it's funny when you start to really tune in, like you said, your body is already doing stuff. It's already giving you warning signs, or it's trying to heal itself. But because we're so overstimulated with other things, you're not necessarily paying attention
Hmm.
to it. And once you start to quiet the noise and tune in, you start to notice the thing, whether it's the negative self-talk, or I've got a twitching here. They said, there's nothing wrong, but I know there's something there. It's your body's trying to show you something. Have
Mm.
you ever heard of the telepathy tales? This is an
Yeah, I have. I've heard of them, and I reckon you're probably the third person, and now I need to get onto them.
You need to get onto it. I'm obsessed with this. This is something that's come about in the last year for me that people are talking about. I heard it and I'm like obsessed with it because it's
Yeah.
just makes so much sense. So for anyone that doesn't know, it is a podcast series called the Telepathy Tales, and it's, you can look into it. They'll explain what it's about, but its baseline is that back in the day, before there was language and technology and distractions, before we were able to verbally communicate, we were all given the gift of telepathy, of intuitive, of inner knowing. We all had that set of gifts. It's not like now where you're like, oh, you're a chosen one, you're a psychic, wow, it's like we were all magical back in the day. And then as time went on and we developed language and advanced as humanity, a lot of people forgot about that connection, that God consciousness or that source connection, and got overstimulated by all the shiny stuff. And then there was that percentage of people that
Hmm.
remembered.
Hmm.
I know you and Tim talk about the remembering.
Yes.
Oh, bumps about remembering a
Yep.
lot, and
Yep.
that's so. It's some people have that. So even in today's society, going back to what we were just saying, that if you have the remembering, if you quiet the noise out, it's already inside of you.
Yes.
It's not, you don't need to be magical. We're not chosen ones. Everyone's got the gift. It's all
Yes.
there.
Yes, I love that you shared that. And yes, we do talk so much about that because I feel like through the work that we do and what you resonate on as well, that actually gives us the opportunity to peel back those layers of the armor that we brought on or the distraction, which is usually armor anyway, trying to escape the pain. We get to pull all those layers off through doing this type of work to come back to the core essence of who we are and remember. And as you said, it's like we get to then have these gifts come online. And the same for you, I'm sure. It was like before any of this work for me, before my awakening, I had no idea I could do energy work or I could do sound healing, I could use my voice and connect with spirit and all these different incredible gifts that came online after that period, but also like you, after a very traumatic experience that then uncovered a whole bunch of childhood stuff that I didn't know about. So I
Mm.
100% agree. And I feel that if anyone's listening to this, that I think if you're drawn to this video and this podcast with Beck, there is a reason because she's a powerhouse, as you can see. And I really feel like there'd be some form of resonance. So I'm sure that you have this beautiful opportunity to start to tune into what your gifts are and to uncover your own journey, which is exciting.
Amazing. Yeah, we've got to give props. I know this, you're saying this is my episode, but I like to give people their flowers and just say the absolute amazing work that you and Tim do and how many lives you're changing. I've done many workshops with you guys, not just level one. We've done many, including inner child as well, which
Mm.
that's a whole nother podcast thing.
That should be a total another podcast. We'll do it in a child one coming.
But the amazing work, like the things that people aren't talking about. I knew nothing about inner child. I kind of heard about it. I didn't know until I did the 3-month program with you. And it's profoundly changed my life and the way I approach things, I approach people, how I think about myself. Things will happen and I'll feel upset, triggered, some type of emotion. I'm like, why? And then, I can make the connection of that reminded me of this happened when I was at this age and things like that. So you guys are out there doing amazing work. Also healing the world one broken heart at a time. So.
We're all on a mission, and I love that our missions are like so aligned. I really feel we just meet our bestest friends through this work. That's just like Friend finder. Source 88 friend finder. Soul tribe, actually. It's like soul tribe.
It
Um,
really is.
so I'm like, it's so cool. You've got like be prolific in the background, you got be prolific on your t-shirt. I wanna go into that. Like be prolific on your drink bottle. It's everywhere. It's abundance. I loved how you explained what it meant. Um, so if somebody was to be like, okay, so I really resonating with Beck's story. I love her energy. I want to know more. Like, what is Be Prolific? And so you mentioned you're on Instagram, but what is it and what can people do? How can they interact with it and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I love these questions because I had someone that I ran into a couple months ago and they introduced me to their partner as a yoga teacher. And I think I've taken one yoga class in my entire life. I was like, you don't actually know what I do you?
Yoga.
Because I have you on Instagram. Like, you see my posts. How
Ah,
did you come to... Anyway, so I'm going to go, so let's clear that myth up.
she's not a yoga teacher.
Yeah, I know. No one ever really knows exactly what I do. So I look, firstly, I'll say my life experiences supersede any piece of paper I'll ever get. But that day and age where we like to have things hanging on the wall. So I am a certified trauma informed coach. I have done sound bowls 1 and 2 with you and Tim. I've done Reiki 1, Reiki 2, shamanic Reiki. I'm in the middle of the naturopathy course and I'm about to start another somatic course. And I've also qualified in being a somatic facilitator. So my wall looks nice and full, wherever that is in the other room. But so I do a bit of everything. That I don't want to be one of those people that is a jack of all trades. I want to stick to the trauma coaching, so the talk therapy, the somatics, which is the sound movement therapy, and incorporate some Reiki into it as well. I want to keep it really simple because for me, that's what's worked for me. I know it can work. It's such like a trifecta of healing. So as I mentioned earlier, I was in a 6-year legal battle that just wrapped up in February this year. Woo!
Yeah, baby. Timing is everything.
So I haven't been able to say or really do anything because I've had an NDA, a gag order, and a legal team saying otherwise. So this is why this has been really special, because it's the first time where I don't have NDAs and legal teams and I can actually talk about things. But in turn, it's meant that I can't really do anything with the brand. I can be very present online. But as far as actually having a space or doing things like that, it's been very stagnant. You know, I do it for friends because it's great practice for me. I want to keep my closest tribe or anyone that's interested in that space, teach them about it. The next thing for me is I definitely want to find a space and set it up. I always thought I wanted to work one-on-one because I'm such an empath, and being in groups, I absorb everyone's energy and it can be very overwhelming. But I think through doing all my Instagram and social media things, I'm now in a place where I actually want to talk to groups.
Yeah.
I never thought I would. I never thought I'd want to work in groups. How terrifying. But I'm at a point now where I just survived something I never thought I would.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of came out better on the other side, which rarely happens. Like I gotta speak to people. I gotta get out there. I've got to see people. I've got to meet them. I also have been talking to one of my friends overseas, and I want to go back and potentially do a collaboration and a workshop overseas as well. I think that's where. So people are free to reach out. I only have Instagram, so people are free to reach out if they have any questions. They want to book a service, but I would say other than that, probably stay tuned. I'm just finding my footing after a very long battle, but there's lots on the horizon.
I love it. And I love your trust in the divine timing of everything, just with how the 6-year journey of, again, sort of not being able to talk, but now I just sort of see these gates, like I have this vision in my mind of like these gates just like opening in slow motion. And then you just see like this queen just like walking out. shamanic princess style, and coming out to the world. So definitely stay tuned. But what about your merch? Like, if people want to support you in that way, or they want to like wear something for their own, I mean, everything's frequency, right? So the fact that you've created this, all of your amazing goodness and vibrations are also in this merch that you sell. So what do you sell, and where can they get that?
Okay, so this is another one. So Mythbuster number 2. Number 1 is I'm not a yoga teacher. Number 2 is I'm not a clothing brand. That is the second thing I get all the time. So I created merch, as I said, of a way of supporting the work and the movement. Like, you support your football team, soccer, basketball, whatever, you wear the jerseys or whatever it is. That's the reason why I created merch. It's like, other brands like Talk to Me Bro and things like that. You see the shirt and that's what it stands for. And that's my goal with my merch too. So for the moment, I don't have anything set up online. They can DM, but I have a huge range. On my Instagram, in the highlights, I have videos and photos of the entire range. But I've got at least 6 different types of T-shirts, different types of socks, beanies, basketball jerseys, baseball caps, hoodies.
Drink bottles.
A lot of stuff, guys. Like, just, you can see the full range there. I've got every season covered. I've got coffee mugs coming out in the next few weeks as well. So I've got coffee canisters.
And your drink bottle, yeah. I got one of them.
I got a lot of stuff, but it's just I wanted a range of like smaller things. I'll be having like stickers and keychains coming out soon as well. So it's just even a little thing, just a daily reminder. That's all I want it for as well, is just when you wear it, not only to support the cause, the movement that, that person would obviously believe in as well, maybe through their own life experiences, but look at it and remind yourself, it's okay to not be okay. It's all right to take it hour by hour. I've had plenty of those days, and that's really helped me survive some of those hardest days, especially unlearning toxic behaviors or thought processes, patterns. It has to be an hour by hour. Just get through the next 60 minutes, sit down. How do you feel? Where are you at? And then start again. And so I want that to be a reminder for people that when they wear it, one foot in front of the other, it does not matter if today is only a 10% day. Just keep going. That's okay. Be kind to yourself. Like you said, shaming doesn't come from, unsafe spaces. Be safe, be kind to yourself, your inner child. You're trying your best. You're allowed to not feel good today. Rest up. Tomorrow might be 30%. What a win. You're getting better, babe. Things take time. So I want people to wear it and represent a bigger picture of this epidemic we're in with declining mental health, but also be a daily reminder to themselves that you matter too.
Amazing. You're so intuitive, like anything I wanted to ask you, I feel like you always jump ahead and you've already answered, and I'm like, this is just so easy. The intuition. So yeah, you've just shared, so much about your journey. You've shared where you've come from, and through the darkness, even through the darkness, still being able to like recognize the light that you are, and that's what people see as well. It's definitely what I've seen from the beginning. So through that journey to now being here and to be, the 6 month journey of that particular phase is over, of the court case, the lawsuit, and now you can really open up, be prolific in a different way, which is very exciting. You've said some amazing things just even then about, some tips for people. If there's anything to finish off this incredible, incredible conversation, is there anything that you want to say?
I think the most important thing that I'd like to leave this conversation, like there's so many one-liners that are coming to my mind, like I'm probably the wrong person to ask a short answer for. But I think through my own experiences, things I've shared, some things that I haven't, some things you've shared, things I've experienced with working with people in this field and people on their mental health journey. If I can say anything to you guys before we wrap up today, is no matter what you're going through, please try your best just to be kind to whoever you come in contact with. And it doesn't even need to be verbally. It could be a smile, maybe hold the door open for someone. You can give them a compliment, just something to let them know, I see you. As humanity, we are one big team. We need to start acting like it.
Yeah.
The 6 degrees of separation, with whatever you want to call it, with nationality, religion, beliefs, I understand. But at its baseline, we're all the same. We want to have a safe place, eat nice food, be around our loved ones, and just feel safe and have a laugh.
Yeah.
So if you can do that by smiling at someone, holding a door open, giving a compliment, I know you might be going through something, but they might be too. And it might be really mutually healing just to have that moment of connection with another person.
Amazing. What a journey. I think we've got to definitely use your words of alchemizing the pain to power.
Yeah.
So this podcast, I think that's what it's called. Alchemizing pain into power.
Oh, I love that. How beautiful.
Such an inspiration, and I'm so grateful to have you here, and yeah, that you are here. Full stop. I'm grateful that you're here and you're on this earth and you are shining the biggest freaking light, and I really appreciate you and all that you show up for and all that you do in the world. So thank you. It's been an honor to have you as my first podcast interviewee. And I can't wait to share this, with the world, whoever needs to hear it.
I love that. And thank you so much for this chat and this opportunity. Any excuse I get to talk to you and connect with you, I'm like right there. So the fact that we got to do something together, as I said in the beginning, was such a full circle moment. It's so special. And I think to add one more thing before we do wrap up, and, presumptuously, I'll speak for you also, though, is I want to remind people as well to be thankful for the darkness. You might not see it in the moment, but if you didn't go through what you did and I didn't go through what I did, you wouldn't have all these experiences where you know what those things are like, to then in turn be able to help other people who are just beginning their journey. So I see you. I'm very grateful for you and the beautiful light that you are. And I just think the world of you. Hey, I fangirl over you whenever I love you so much.
We're just mirrors, baby. We're just mirrors to each other. It's amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
You still here? You still here? Oh, you're still here. Oh, wow. Amazing. Well done. You're still here. This is our Marvel moment. If you don't know what a Marvel moment is, that's okay. That's okay too. We love you anyway. But just so you know, who's about to come on your screen is the person who's been going to be on this podcast in the next fortnight. So you can put it in your calendar. We can't give you a snippet of what they're going to say, because you just have to show up. And if you're game enough to do that, you will get incredible outcomes. See you on the other side.